Go ahead.
No, you do it.
No.
No, you have to. You're in the chair. This is fun. It's fun if you do this. I'll ask the questions, but you start it.
Welcome to One on One. I'm Phil Tilghman, your guest on Greg Bassett's One on One program right here on Pack 14.
Welcome, Phil.
That brings back memories.
Wherever I go, I'll be in the Acme, and someone will walk up, and I'll go, "Oh, they're going to compliment the paper or say what a great job I do on TV." And the first thing they say is, "How's Phil Tilghman doing? Do you ever talk to him?" So that's why you're here. We need to find out how Phil Tilghman's doing.
The answer is I'm doing terrific. I'm happy as a lark. I play golf 3 times a week. Play gin rummy on Wednesday afternoons.
Do you
I
win or
work
lose?
out with a personal trainer on Monday and Friday.
Do you win or lose at the gin rummy?
You know, Carol and I both play, and we play. Oftentimes, she wins $5 and I lose $5. So, as a family, we don't.
Yeah.
We're not in too much of a deficit situation there. But
That's good.
we really had. We've formed a little club on Wednesday afternoons down.
Where
at
do
Green
y'all
Hill.
play?
At Green Hill.
At Green Hill.
Yeah.
Downstairs or upstairs?
Upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't go downstairs because we have men and women both.
In the old days,
yeah,
in the old days of Green Hill, the downstairs card playing got carried away a lot. Yes.
it did. it wasn't for $5 a game.
No, it was real stuff. Yeah.
No, it was.
Yeah.
But it did get carried away.
Yeah.
But anyway, we play for $5. We had a really good time. So
Excellent.
anyway, and
Do you play aces as 11 or 1?
we play aces as 1.
Oh, okay. That's not a serious game.
Ace is a low card. Yeah.
So-
But anyway, it's
How are your knees? You had some knee surgery at one point?
this is my replaced knee, and it's my good knee now. It's my go-to knee.
And you were going to have the other knee done, but you lost so much weight you don't need to have it done now?
And I also lost my nerve because it takes several
The
months.
rehab is a pain?
Several months to really get back to normal, and I don't want to give up my golf game.
Right.
It doesn't hurt. It only hurts when I dance. That's what Carol says. Hey,
So you get out of dancing?
every time a nice slow dance comes, and I want you to ask me to dance, your knee hurts. But
Now,
anyway,
Do you play left-handed or right-handed?
right-handed.
Okay.
I am left-handed.
Right, I thought you were.
But I play left-handed.
So you can get on your right side
Right-handed.
okay, and that knee doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't.
So how was your year? How was this political season? Did you enjoy it?
I had my ups and downs personally.
Being a
With-
longtime
with
Democrat.
A longtime Democrat who voted for several Republicans in this election.
In this
but,
election?
Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
Certainly don't tell my father. Dad, I'm sorry. Anyway.
He was what they call a blue dog Democrat.
I voted for Governor Hogan.
Did you really?
And my wife did also. And
He's a good guy.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think he's done a nice job, a good job. He's separated himself from our president, who I'm not very proud of.
Right.
But anyway, on the county council, we've got, Bill McCain and John Cannon
Right.
are the two guys. I think they will work well together.
Now, for people who
And,
don't know, Phil was on the county council for 44 years,
16.
16 years,
Yeah.
and always elected at large,
Yes.
and was council president a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, of course, we have a county executive and a county council. And the county council, and I think some of the ballot questions were an effort to curb the power of the county executive, which I voted against both of those, frankly.
But they always
they
passed by wild margins.
Well, you think about Alexis School Board. That was obviously it was going to pass. Because
Right.
Why shouldn't we have a right to vote for our school board? Well, the appointment process worked pretty doggone good.
really
We got
did.
some great people on the Board of Education.
Right.
Incidentally, your vote and my vote count. Did you see where Dave Gosley, just today, I think
Yes.
they recounted,
Yes.
and
He's
he
gonna
won
win,
by 1.
I think two or one. One.
Well, he was losing by 1.
One.
Now he's winning by 1.
Because he picked up 2 votes.
Yeah.
Right, and I've got that story to put online. I haven't gotten to the office yet to put it up, but yes.
But can you imagine both those guys, Bill Turner,
Right.
Dave Gosley, and they're leading up to the recount, and they're looking at their friends, said, "Did you and Maud vote for me? You said you were going to vote. Did you get to the polls?" Well, yeah. Anyway, one vote. Remember with Shaney Shields won
Exactly.
city council by
Yeah.
one vote. So those people who say, "Oh, my vote doesn't count," well, it does count.
Well, what I also looked at, there were 23 or 33 people in that race who made write-in votes, like wrote in Superman or, kind of something stupid,
Yeah.
or were confused. If they just voted legitimately, it would have really changed things.
Yeah. The county executive race was a total shock to me. Not that Bob Culver won, because I thought he was going to win.
Right.
But I thought he was going to just eke out a victory because the Democrat
John Hamilton
was going to take votes away
from Heath.
from Jack
Oh, from-
Heath.
yeah, well, and
but
no,
it was,
yeah.
but I mean, he got 10,000 votes,
Yes,
and
he did.
Heath got like 8,000,
Yeah.
7 or 8,000, and it shows you that an independent can't get it elected to at least that position, and probably no other position,
Right.
realistically. I mean, there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm an independent. I'm unaffiliated." Well, there are not enough of those to actually have an organized party.
Right, you need an apparatus.
That's
You
right.
need some sort of organization. The Democrats did everything they could to help Jack Heath,
Heath, yeah.
but it didn't wash with the
No.
voters.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Someone said
So-
to me, there's really only about 2,600 people in the county who really pay attention to what's going on. Do you believe that?
Well, I don't know. Well, let's see. Anyway, it's a good time of year. Some good people been elected, and all we can do is hope that those people who we have lifted up into an elective office take it seriously and set a good example for the kids who are young people, young voters. Some of them are kind of turned off,
Right.
by politics.
Right.
I can understand why. And every time you see a story of somebody in a leadership position who doesn't live up to that trust, then it hurts.
It hurts a lot.
And it hurts the whole system.
Yeah.
And institutions in general are kind of in a bad position right now.
Yeah.
Churches and civic clubs and institutions.
Yeah, I see us in Salisbury where we've got momentum going and things are so positive, and then you get one bad murder. Not that there's a good murder, but you get a bad murder with lots of details and stuff, and it just makes you feel bad about your community again, and it loses that momentum somehow. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
to me.
well, and you could say, well, look, Barbara Duncan and the city police, the crime rate is way down, and everybody says, yay, but then there's that one crime that can negate all of that good news, can be negated by just one bad news.
And in the school system, there will be something that's not even reportable in the paper. One kid will get in an altercation with a teacher, and anecdotally, that thing goes everywhere. And that's all people are talking about, not the good stuff that happens.
Well,
in
there
the
is a
school
lot
system.
of good stuff happening in our schools, and that's, to me, one of the reasons I was so pleased that Bill McCain won on the county council, because his issue
Right.
is education.
Right.
And how many people heard that, I don't know, but he's on there, and Josh Hastings is on there,
Yeah.
who's also very pro-education.
Yeah.
I was always pro-education. I thought that was one of the main reasons we have elected. That's why we all joined together, send in our taxes. Okay, here's $142 million. How are you going to spend this?
Right.
Well, you know what? About half of it we're going to spend on education.
Right.
And
it's way less than that now, Phil. They keep saying half, but it's because you throw in Warwick in the library, and even then it's only like 45%. It's more like 35% or 38% that the school system actually gets from the county. It's not a lot.
they ought to get more.
Yeah, they ought to get more.
Yeah.
And that was an issue in the election, and I thought of you a lot during that. The business community sort of came together. The Greater Salisbury Committee, the Chamber, drove this as an issue, supported our superintendent, Dr. Hanlon, on some of her initiatives
Right.
that are going to require some new money.
That woman is working.
Isn't she?
I don't know what her work day is.
Yeah.
but it's not 9 to 5. I know.
Yeah.
She's really working at it, and our Board of Education spends a tremendous amount of time
Yeah.
doing their job, and their job is to be advocates for education. And I hope those people who were elected, when we went to the elected school board, I thought a lot of people voted that because we want to get some people in there that are going to curb the expenses.
Right.
Right. And that might be why some of those people ran. I don't know.
Right.
I would guess that once they get in there and see the inner workings and the enthusiasm and the 1,400 professionals teaching our kids, and they'll want to do everything they can to support them, and that's their job.
What's that like when you get elected? Like what they're going through right now? They get elected and they've got this challenge in front of them, and they want to go in and they want to make a difference. What's that feeling like to be so empowered to kind of run our county like you were able to do?
Well, it's an awesome responsibility, but also very rewarding. And of course, I was elected, and Henry Parker was there. I sat next to him. He was the president, and I was the vice president. They used to call him King Henry and me Prince Philip.
Prince Philip. And
I learned an awful lot from him. And then later on, I served with Vic Laws. Somewhere during the election season, somebody said something about the county. We ought to have a countywide sewer and water system. I said, go back in the archives, and there's about a 5-page typewritten this way by Vic Laws, a plan on how you can have a countywide sewer system. And this is a season of elections. It's also a season of Thanksgiving. And those of us to whom family is the most important thing in the world, then it's easy to be thankful. It's easy to anticipate the season of Christmas that actually started around Halloween. But at any rate, it's an exciting time, heartwarming time, a time to give thanks, time to embrace your family and say, things are pretty good.
How many grandchildren now?
I have 9.
9. How old's the oldest one?
Well, my oldest granddaughter is 30.
Wow.
And she's a teacher at Y Middle.
Right.
And Allison Wysocki is her name. And her mother is a teacher at Hebron Intermediate, and her name is Kim Messick.
Right.
And at I think it was a couple of years ago, they were both, Kim was
up for Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
competing.
One for middle school.
Yeah.
And so they invited me to go to the banquet with them. So that was kind of exciting. And both of them, we have a picture. It's on our refrigerator, to tell you the truth, of the two of them, the 2 nominees. So I'm very proud of them. And it's easy to see why I'm so supportive of education, not just for them, but my grandchildren who are students. And it's a good time.
I love your son-in-law, Brett Miller. He's just a great guy.
He is, and he is going great guns.
Yeah.
He really had business, and of course my daughter is involved with that business.
Someone's kicking him in the butt, and I think it's probably her.
Well, she's more on the property maintenance side,
right.
and he's on the sales and the forward planning end. But the two of them make a great team. They really
very
do.
Organized.
Yeah. And Amy, I will say, is now the chairman of the SU Foundation.
That's right,
for
she
the next
is.
2 years.
Which, congratulations for that. That's a big job in this town.
It is. They do.
They raise a lot of money.
They do good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And your son runs your oil business.
My son Pat, and he and his family, and they're doing very well. So our 3 children all live here in Salisbury, which that's
amazing, isn't it?
That is, because so many of our friends, we have friends, their kids are in Montana,
right?
Or wherever, California in a couple of cases. And when you have kids and grandkids, it's a lot easier for the grandparents to travel to them rather than all of them to load up and travel to mom and dad's house. So Anyway.
When you moved here from Fedelsburg in 1910, did you ever really, did you have any expectation? Did you know how things would go for you here?
No.
Did you feel like you'd be embraced so much and make a difference in the community the way you have?
Well, no, and thank you for saying that. But
What year was it really? Not
it was
1910?
1964.
Okay.
I graduated from college, and of course that's where I met Carol.
Right, Washington College.
June 6, 1964, and June 20th we were married.
Wow. They don't do that anymore.
No, no. Well, some people don't ever get married.
There's
They
that,
never
yeah.
live together
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
I wish I had thought of that
And,
someday.
it would have been okay with me, but anyway, that was 54 years we've been married, and so that's a pretty good record. But we were in the oil business. Tilghman Oil was in the oil business in Fedelsburg and in Salisbury.
Right.
My brother was already here, Stanley,
Okay.
and so we came down here in 1964 to join him in that business, and that's when we I was telling earlier we had we sponsored the WBOC Saturday night movies
Right.
live.
Right.
The movie wasn't live, but the ad was live, and I used to go out there on Saturday night. 11:20 is when I was on.
So you watched John? Well, it wasn't John B. Greenberg on the weekend. It was a fill-in crew.
It was another guy. I think he was a son-in-law to Bill Phillips. Remember Bill Phillips?
do very much.
WICO radio,
Yeah.
who was a great guy and a great customer of ours, but he was a character.
I painted his house once, so I used to, when I was a reporter and I didn't make any money, in the summer I would paint houses on the side. And I painted his house.
On Pinehurst.
On Pinehurst. I was painting Mrs. Inslee's house, the White House.
Next door.
And he came over and he had some stuff he wanted to do inside. And I was terrible at trim. I can do outside fine with a big brush. Can't do little. But I got to know him through that.
Yeah.
And just what a fascinating guy he was.
Yeah, and his wife Charlotte.
Yeah.
Both of them. They were. Charlotte was always a big supporter of the Teen Adult Center.
Right.
Big supporter, and so was he.
Yeah.
They would anyway.
But just how he could remember
people.
those names. Remember that? People would call in and the phone numbers and he would repeat it back. And I don't think he wrote it down.
Well, some lady approached him in the mall one day. Said, Bill Phillips said, "I think you're the greatest thing in the world." "Oh, thank you. You know who I am, don't you?" He said, "No, who are you?" She said, 742-7686.
It was like that.
It wasn't her name. It was
Yeah.
her phone number.
The show was Party Line on WICO,
Yeah, Party Line.
and everyone in town stopped what they were doing and listened to Party Line.
Yeah. And those were the days when newspapers used to have classified ads
Yeah.
too.
Tell me about it.
That's just a lost thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Things change.
Things change, and the more it changes, the worse it gets.
Well,
You've seen a lot of change. What's the biggest change you've seen in the time that you've been here?
well, of course the county. I think I'm trying to remember.
I mean, 1968 was a pivotal year because Greater Salisbury Committee was created, and they kind of set out to achieve certain things. Like we needed a great hospital, an airport, a research university, these things that we have, a nice civic center. I remember when the civic center burned down. I don't know if you were in government. Were you in government?
No, that was Lewis Riley and Albert
Right.
Bailey.
Right.
That was Dick Wooten. Those guys were in, and they studied
Right.
whether or not, first of all, whether or not to rebuild it,
Right, exactly. There was
and
people who
secondly,
didn't want to
whether
rebuild.
to rebuild it there.
Right.
Well,
Well, I know they looked at Winter Place Farm,
They
which
looked
the
at
county
Winter Place.
actually took, and I thought, that's a good idea. There's already a facility there.
Yeah.
And then they built this big building, and I was like, Salisbury's not ready for this, but now it's too small.
It wasn't too long after they redid that
Yeah.
we had the National Indoor Tennis Championships, and I remember the JCs used to sponsor wrestling,
Right.
wrestling,
Wrestling, and that was fun. Oh my
and
gosh.
I was on the committee, and there was this guy that came down from Baltimore, and I remember he chewed on a cigar and he wore a fedora inside. he never took his hat off, and the first time we said, well, we want the same wrestling that they had on Channel 2
Right.
in Baltimore,
Right.
and they would bring them down here. Okay, and we'll have a championship match. That'll be the last thing. And we said, well, how do you know that? What about if the championship match, if he pins him in a minute and then it's over? He said, you tell me how long you want the match to go. and that's how long it'll go. I will determine who's going to win.
Right.
You know. And
Well,
it was-
I remember my grandfather took me to some of those from Ocean City, and he loved wrestling, and it was just funny that he loved wrestling. He would actually buy like wrestling movies, like these newsreels of wrestling matches, because he didn't come on TV. It would be like getting a videotape now. He loved to watch wrestling, so we would go, and I was like, all this is fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
But then you see someone bleeding in there. They would like cut themselves somehow or whatever, like on purpose. And I was like, well, if it's not real, why is the guy bleeding? I mean, I was so confused, but it was really exciting.
Yeah. Well, I have a 12-year-old grandson, Laird Tillman,
Yeah.
who he always has loved wrestling, Monday Night Live,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and he knows all the guys, and he, by what music, the music comes on, he says, oh, that's so-and-so, and he knows. I said, Laird, what do you see in this? How about baseball? Grandpa, I don't like to watch baseball that much. Anyway.
There's talk about the Civic Center, what to do with it, whether to keep it a family youth and civic center or lease it to Comcast. Any thoughts on that?
No.
You battled all that,
Yes.
trying to decide whether
Well,
to
we
privatize it.
battled the liquor question,
Right,
and that's been solved.
right.
And
Well, there were woodcocks alive at that point when you were battling it.
Yeah, and the only way we thought you could have liquor sales is contact every one of the heirs
Right,
of the Woodcocks, and they say yes,
right.
which was almost.
Well, and that happened when Tony Sarbanes was council president. He and Chip DeShield, they kind of did that, and there was one holdout, like down in North Carolina, who didn't. It was one of those like, give me some money and then we'll talk about it kind of deals.
I don't know about that.
I remember reporting that. I don't know if I ever got that in the paper or not, but that's what we heard. But Bob Culver, the county executive, just kind of ignored all that and just.
He just
did it.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
executive decree,
Right.
almost.
But there was a fear that the religious groups would come in and protest, and that never happened.
You and I lived through a time with Mary Knock,
Yeah,
and Mary Knock would not allow the blue laws to
Yeah.
be. They applied to Wycomico County, and it was a state decision.
right.
And it took a long time to talk Mary Knock into letting us have sales on Sunday.
They went to referendum, failed the first time,
Yeah,
and then it succeeded the second time.
yeah. Mary Knock.
Well, I'm about to write about her because Mary Beth Carrozza now is the first woman senator that we've had since Mary Knock. So I want to use that as a subject for a story.
Well, good luck to her.
Yeah,
And I personally hate to see Jim Mathias go.
yeah,
Because he had a real close relationship with Mike Miller, and you can talk about the Martin O'Malley's
Right.
and the Larry Hogan's all you want.
Right.
Mike Miller is one of the key people who runs his state.
Jim could find a way to get himself at any table
Yeah.
and be part of any discussion. And whether Mary Beth can do that or not, we'll see.
Well, yeah. Well, Mary Beth has a lot of skill,
Yeah.
I think, and of course she's very close to Larry Hogan. He talked her into running, I
Right.
think, from what I hear.
Right.
And so we'll see. He's there for the next 4 years, and she's in the Senate for the next 4 years.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there. And good luck to her. Her success is our success.
How are you feeling about Mr. Culver these days?
Well, he's not my favorite person. I like him as an individual, but there's been some things that I haven't agreed with that he's done. But one of the big things he has done is his support for Warwick Community College.
Isn't it amazing?
It is amazing.
He was out on his own on that thing too.
Oh, yeah.
The council just did not ever get that.
No.
They still don't get it.
No, they still don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And for Bill McCain and Josh Hastings might make a little different there. But the council's trying, I don't know whether that has to do with the council exerting its power to offset Bob, because I know they don't get along very well.
Yeah. Now, I've written about that, and Bob says I exaggerate that. They get along great.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's not apparent.
Okay. Maybe I'm exaggerating it. I don't know.
We'll see. Well, they've got a new council.
Yeah.
Bob's elected for 4 years, so he's going to feel comfortable in his position.
Right.
Because the voters have said, okay, Bob, you got another 4 years there, so do what you've been doing must be right.
Right.
So good for him.
When you were council president, you went to bed every night knowing you needed 3 votes in your pocket for everything all the time.
I felt like I had them. I felt like most, except for the last council I was on,
which was really not fun.
which was not, it was terrible.
There was
But
some not yelling and
up until
screaming, but there was some screaming and
Up
yelling.
until that point, if it was the right thing to do, I felt like the council would probably agree with me. The one thing, early on, my first term, I proposed that we raise the recordation tax. I think it was a transfer tax. One of them was half of 1%.
Let's make this point. I just made this point the other day at Greater Salisbury Committee, and no one wanted to hear it. But I voted, I'm ashamed to say, I voted for the revenue cap. Because that excise tax was going to bring in so much money that the revenue cap wasn't going to matter. But the excise tax failed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I supported you on that.
And the excise tax was all for
Real estate.
transfer. But,
Right.
In other words, new construction and would pay for what it cost you to educate kids
It was
and
going
build
to be
schools.
magical. Yeah, it was going to be great.
So anyway,
But it failed.
yeah. Well, that whole atmosphere was, wait a minute, government, you've gone too far.
Right. So I've been writing about the revenue cap. It's there's talk of changing it. I think some people are going to push to look at the change. I don't think it's going to change. But in the archives, I went back and read your debate with Patrick Doyle and people like that from 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You were a hero out there arguing that stuff.
It was Bill Middleton and me.
Right.
There was a referendum that said, okay, we're going to have collective bargaining with the sheriff's department. The same people who voted for the revenue cap voted to say, okay, we're going to let you have collective bargaining, and would criticize the Board of Education for having collective bargaining with the teachers.
Right.
So it's those kinds of votes are difficult,
hard to read the electorate.
difficult to predict and figure out what's the smart thing to do. So, but when they've spoken, they've spoken.
Yeah.
So to you, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Phil, and thanks for coming back. And I'm going to carry a copy of this show, so when people come up to me at the grocery store, I can say, "Here, just watch it."
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
I enjoy sitting here in this seat.
If you ever want the show back, just let me know.
I will. Don't hold your breath. But you're doing a great job. You have some really good guests.
Thank you.
And you handle them with a good sense of humor. And
Thank you.
So Merry Christmas to you.
You too.
All the best to Pac 14 and all of you and keep listening to and watching Pac 14, and you can send in a few dollars once in a while to support Pac 14 if you want to. So I did.
You know what to do.
Thank you for being with us right here on Pac 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.